Hey everybody, Tom Judd here of Global Clinical Engineering Alliance. So excited to introduce my good friend and yours, Dr. Ricardo Silva, speaking about artificial intelligence and medical devices. You know, he's a globally recognized expert in clinical engineering and health information technology and digital health. He's driven by a real passion for education and innovation. You know, he's got this long background in all these areas, but he's going to be a unique contributor today to this topic of artificial intelligence in medical devices and for the field of clinical engineering in general. I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Ricardo Silva, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about AI. I want to thank the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance for making this possible, all of the members and all of the global community that I hope will benefit from what I'm going to share. So let's get started. First thing is, what is artificial intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence is nothing more than a system that tries to do things that we traditionally associate with the human mind. This is very general. I mean, we can go all the way back to the origin of written language. And written language allows us to memorize, to remember things that happened thousands of years ago. We were not even present or born or knew about that, but we can recall it because we can go to the written text and we can bring back those memories. So artificial intelligence is nothing new, something we've been doing forever. The great difference is that now we have computer systems that act in ways that mimic the human mind such that you would think that you are actually talking to another human being. But that's not quite the case, because artificial intelligence is going to return the most probable answer to a set of questions. And that is provided the system has been properly trained. So a system cannot answer a question outside of the context of its training. And if it does so, the answer is not going to be the best. So we need to understand that this tool, though it may seem wonderful and totally powerful, has its inherent limitations. And that's part of what we would like to understand. So first off, we've heard a lot about AI and its application to healthcare or to business or to whatever. But we need to take the perspective of the biomedical and the clinical engineer. A lot of people have been working on the development of smart medical devices. And yes, you have your sensors, you have your AI that has been trained with the data, and you have all of the connectivity that allows you to share these results. This is valid for wearable devices. This is valid for hospital systems in intensive care units or operating rooms. But the focus so far has been on the physiology. The focus so far has been on the medicine. The focus so far has been on the final user. But what about us? What about the clinical and biomedical engineers who are responsible for that technology? What about the maintenance? What about verifying that those algorithms are accurate because the device is properly calibrated? How do we assess all that? Well, again, we need to understand that a large language model, which is what people are talking about, is nothing more than a network of networks of networks. It's a whole collection of artificial neural networks, of deep neural networks, each of which has learned a specific task, each of which has learned a specific discipline. So we have models called transformers that have been trained, for example, in medical terminology. We have transformers that have been trained in language, natural language processing and recognition. But we do not quite have transformers that have been properly trained on maintenance, operations, calibration, critical assessment. So if we ask a device, how are you operating? The device might not be able to answer that question because that is something that we have not trained it with. So that's something that we definitely need to do. And that is part of our role and our responsibility as clinical and biomedical engineers. There are hundreds of large language models out there. And every day, a new model is coming out. Many of us have been afraid, scared of these models. We do not understand them. What are they about? Are they going to take away our jobs? And we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. But truth be told, these models are here to stay. And we need to learn how to use them. We need to learn how to operate with them. And we need to learn how to take the responsibility that is associated with the proper or improper use of such a wonderful technology. So in healthcare, medical doctors are already starting to use what are called clinical decision support systems. What is that? Well, medical data is complex. People don't know everything. Things are changing at an immensely fast pace. So you have a doctor, is interacting with a patient, data is gathered in an electronic health record. This data then can be inspected by an artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence has previously been trained with existing data, either through its own learning, deep learning, machine learning, where the AI just learns and finds associations amongst this data. And it has also been trained, which is much more important, with the rule-based system, with data that has been provided by experts who have annotated these things and have provided their expertise so that the system can learn from it. At the end, once the data has been analyzed by the AI, the doctor gets a recommendation. The doctor gets a, let's call it, projective diagnosis. So this projective diagnosis, and the doctor has its own prospective diagnosis. If they match, if they are in agreement, then the doctor has certainty to go back to the patient and validate what he was thinking all along. If that's not the case, and there is discord, then the doctor can ask for a recommendation to go to a specialist, an interconsultation, or whatnot. The system is not there to replace the doctor. The system is there to support and enhance the doctor so that they can provide a better medical patient interaction. This needs to be the exact same thought process that we need to have in clinical and biomedical engineering, where we need to start developing decision support systems for maintenance, procurement, calibration, because this is a handicap that we need to overcome. So what are the ethical concerns? There's the data privacy, especially when we're talking about personally identifiable data. Then there is something that is fundamentally in our realm of engineering and data processing, which is algorithmic bias, transparency, accountability, and the one that everybody is afraid of. Would AI take my job? So let's get into the details. When it comes to data privacy, especially personal health information, there are already multiple regulations, legislations out there to protect the data. Of course, we need to follow those regulations. And most organizations are already building cybersecurity task forces. And all organizations are already working with HIPAA, GDPR, et cetera, to secure the data. And they are required to report if there's any data breach, et cetera. So this is only going to get enhanced and strengthened. But people are already working on this. And this is true for medical devices that are exchanging PHI, personal health information, and are doing that through a network. These devices are your responsibility as a clinical engineer. These devices could become the backdoor for a hacker to enter your premises. So it's not about the AI that is going to look at the data. It's about the hacker that could enter your system and corrupt the data before it has even been processed. That's part of our responsibilities. Algorithm. Oh, this is one that is definitely on our field, especially for biomedical engineers. Garbage in, garbage out. A system cannot get a proper result if it had not been properly trained. And properly trained is relative because the data could be inaccurate. The data that we have in our electronic health record might be incomplete, might not have been acquired properly, precisely. Or I could have a historical bias because the data is simply too old. It's out of date. What about the representation? And this is a big one. A lot of the algorithms that have been trained for decision support have been trained in the United States of America or in Europe, where there's a majority of white Caucasian patients. Would this algorithm work the same if the patient was Asian or African? What about if this was a Filipino patient? Would it be the same? Well, not necessarily. And that is part of what we need to understand, and that is part of what we need to overcome. And this could support some prejudice if we are uploading this data in, again, Philippines, for whatever reason, I'm choosing the Philippines, and we decide to exclude tourists from the data pool. Well, we might explicitly be biasing the data that we're using. And the same thing applies for devices. So if we're training an algorithm to recognize, for example, electricity-derived problems in a CT scanner, the way the CT scanner from Siemens is going to respond is not necessarily the way that the Philips one or the GE or the Toshiba are going to respond to the same spike. So if we want to develop a general AI system that help us evaluate spike response on a CAT scanner, well, we better include all of the brands in the pool because it's the only way we can eliminate some of those biases. Of course, then there's the big box, black box problem. We have this huge network of networks, totally convoluted. There's no way anyone can understand what is happening inside this system. There's an observer bias. You cannot explain that level of complexity. So what is happening? and this is revolutionary in the field of AI. It's the fact that amongst those multiple networks and those multiple layers, we're including a layer of explainability. We're including the capacity for the AI to become self-aware. That's critical, and that can be scary as well. Because now the AI is gaining the capacity to go back and reassess a prior analysis. And they can do this in the blink of an eye, really, really fast, millions of transactions per second. And then they come with their reasoning on how they got to that result. This is amazing. The newest AI system already have this capacity. And it's amazing to interrogate the system and ask how they came up with this explanation. And the explanations can sound very well and quite logical. But remember, they are based on the inherent biases, training, and knowledge that this neural network has. So they can be reasoning very well within their limitations. Here is where you actually require an expert, someone that knows, someone that understands not just the technology, but the AI, that can audit this process and can validate that what the explainable interface is coming up with actually makes sense. And not only that, but not just a reasoning engine. We need to include ethical engines. We need to make sure that the solution is not just feasible, but it is ethically correct. Because if we have a patient with cancer, a solution could be just to kill the patient and the cancer would be gone. That is a perfectly valid answer, but it is totally unethical. So that's something that we as engineers who are developing the technology need to be aware. Forget about studying coding. Learn philosophy and ethics, because those are the skills that we need for the future of the profession. And that comes back to our jobs, our job security. Well, about 85 million jobs are going to be lost due to AI. For example, if you work at the end of a production line in quality assurance and you're visually inspecting products for quality, let me tell you, AI is going to displace you in no time, because artificial vision and pattern recognition are much more efficient than the human eye in recognizing defects. Faster, cheaper, better. But just as we're going to lose those 85 million jobs, 97, close to 100 million new roles are going to open up. Today, you hear about a chief executive officer, about a chief information officer, a chief technology officer. Well, we're going to need chief AI officers. We're going to need ethical AI commissions. We're going to need AI audit professionals, and so on and so forth. There's so many AI-enhanced professions that are going to be developed, particularly in our field of technology, that it is going to be amazing. So AI is not going to replace you, but those who use AI are definitely going to replace those who don't. So learn about it, We need to rebuild and redefine who we are as professionals, what we do, how we use the tools. Should we be wasting time writing a report? Or should we train an AI and use an AI to write those reports for us so that we could devote more time to what humans need to do, which is empathy, interaction, and ethics? Do we need to keep records in paper? No. Just like every single hospital in the world today has an electronic medical record, every single clinical engineering department in the world today should have a computerized maintenance management system. This is the heart of the information that is going to be used for those AI tools to help you make better, most accurate, most cost-effective decisions. Also, one thing that is important and many of us fail to do, which is a post-market surveillance. How do we make sure that the technology is properly operating? Well, again, have we even trained the AI to look for potential malfunctions? Do we know how the CT scanner from Siemens differs from the CT scanner from GE when there is an electrical spike? Those are the kind of things that we need to train the system to do so that we can do a proper post-market surveillance and improve everything we're doing. Other things, simple things. Many events that happen in the hospital are seasonal. Here we see a simple graph. There is a clear dunk in the number of ICU admissions between October and January for this particular hospital facility. Well, that is exactly the time when you need to maintain the ICU medical devices. What about how do I better use my time? Again, there are great tools for time management that help you generate an Eisenhower matrix, and from that, optimize the use of your time so that you can better serve the needs of the institution and devote the time to those things that are important and take care of those things that are critical when they need to be. So, wrapping up, there are key uses and potential key benefits for AI in the field of clinical and biomedical engineering. We can do predictive diagnosis for early failure detection. We could use it to optimize maintenance scheduling, even through seasonality or through job allocation for different employees. We can improve the inventory management, procure the things that we need just in time before they're going to be needed. We can, if we do things properly, enhance safety, improve accuracy, reduce risk. And therefore, by doing all that, we can reduce the operating cost and we can improve the quality of care, which is exactly what clinical engineers are meant to do. Hopefully, this opened your eyes, gave you some food for the thought, and will allow you to build a better AI and a better work for clinical engineers worldwide. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.